Howdy, everybody. Chess College. How y'all doing? We're winding down the class. As you all know, it gets over next Thursday. Get all your papers in as soon as you can. Have patience on the grading, and then go enjoy your holidays with your family. Anyway, today I'm talking briefly about Quentin Tarantino. He's a favorite of a lot of dis- discerning cinephiles who like his edgy, cool dialogue and action sequences. He showed up on the scene as a screenwriter in the early beginning. He was working at a video store in Southern California. I think he was living with his mother, and he's a cinephile. Has studied Hong Kong cinema, kung fu cinema, black exploitation, grindhouse, and he was a real fan of the B movie, trying to elevate it, outside of using Hollywood movie stars. And he had sold his early success was selling screenplays. He had sold True Romance that was made into a fine film by Tony Scott, who later on was really Scott's brother, and Tony Scott eventually committed suicide. And with Christian Slater, okay, Arquette, Patricia Arquette, uh, couple on the lam, criminals. Tarantino likes to write the Pulp Fiction type of cinema. He's in very much influenced by film noir from the 50s, and so edgy people living on the edges. The other screenplay he sold was Natural Born Killers, which was made into a controversial film by Oliver Stone with Woody Harrelson and can't think of her name right now, but I love her as an actress. I'll come up with it in a second. Anyway, about another killer couple on the lam on a killing spree, but they look so cool doing it, and we all accepted it. They are just psycho killers, though. That's all they are. And uh, Tarantino wanted to take his name off that one because he felt Oliver Stone messed it up. Didn't like the direction of it. Him and Oliver Stone didn't get along. Um, Oliver Stone, who had made his claim to fame on bio biographical films like JFK and um, the Jim Morrison's The Doors story, Born on the Fourth of July, about Ron Kovac, the Vietnam veteran. Um, and they had a major disagreement where Oliver Stone um, essentially accused Tarantino of not writing his movies about real life, but about other movies. And there's a lot of truth to that. Tarantino's movies are always based, not always, but predominantly based on other movies. And whereas Stone always said he wrote about real things like Jim Morrison and the Doors, Ron Kovac was a Vietnam veteran, JFK. Um, Anywho, Tarantino was um, one of these kids that was obsessed with movies, inspired to write movies. And so his forte, if you watch his movies, is his dialogue. It's rapid fire, witty, ironic, iconic. It's kind of, and so Generation X really loved his work. I don't know if the young generation, if the millennials or Gen Z even care about it because it's not superhero stuff, folks. It's not Marvel Comics. His last movie was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a fictitious story about the murders of Sharon Tate and the Charles Manson gang with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. and Robbie as Sharon Tate. Um, his movies tend to be too long. He loves his dialogue so much, we have to hear a lot of it. And so the scenes go on and on and on. One of his better movies, in my opinion, but you can Google this, is Jackie Brown um, with the great Pam Grier, who was a black exploitation star in the '70s. Coffee brand, she did the Coffee and so many more um, films, and that Tarantino admired greatly. Got her coming out of retirement, um, and was short, sharp, to the point. Wasn't over excessive like so many of his other films are. He has a tendency to be excessive in the dialogue because he loves his dialogue so much, and the violence, and play it for kind of ironic response. Uh, he's not doing Peckinpah here, or his hero John Woo. He's doing, in a way, sort of a parody of what violence really is, but making it look cool too at the same time, which is a detriment, I believe, to the artistic endeavor of what he should be doing. But what do I know? He's a multimillionaire, famous director, and I'm teaching film at a small college in Northern California, but I still have my opinion. Um, the reason why Jackie Brown was so good is because he didn't write. It's not from his source material. It's based on an Elmer Leonard novel. And Tarantino, yes, he did write the script, but he had his stick to the script, the book, and he did. I think that's his best movie. I do. I don't think he should write all his movies. I think it's better if he gets source material somewhere else. Then he doesn't overindulge himself. And but he's been very, very, very successful. He's directed, I think, 9 films by now, and he is swearing to the cinema gods that he's going to direct one more film, and that is it, 10 films, which is not a big output for a lot of filmmakers. I mean, Woody Allen, I think, is directing his 50th movie. Most filmmakers, they want to keep making films. Ridley Scott just directed, he's 86 years old. He just directed Napoleon. I don't know how many films he's done, but he's preparing another film. Most filmmakers want to keep going because they have stuff to say. Tarantino feels he's said what he has to say. We'll see if he adheres to this. I don't believe he will. He's going to make one more film, and then he'll make another one because he likes, adulation, and he likes the action. And besides making music, I don't know what else is better to be a filmmaker. That's, to me, it's the ultimate. Um, anyway, so after he finally got enough money up, uh, he got a screenplay to some actors in Hollywood, and one was Harvey Keitel, who had been in Martin Scorsese's films, Mean Streets and um, Taxi Driver. Um, and Cartel liked the script, and he, with his name attached to it, they raised a little over $1 million to make a movie, which is my favorite Tarantino movie, called Reservoir Dogs. Came out in '92, I believe, and it started the whole going to film festivals and Sundance to find the next big hit, because it was a huge hit on the circuit, the art circuit. It's a iconic film, clever dialogue, no women, folks. Tarantino doesn't do women that well. Jackie Brown's an exception, but remember, it's not his source material, so it's different. Women's are usually whores with a heart of gold, like in True Romance. Kill Bill 1 and 2, which starred the great Emma Thurman, Uma Thurman, um, which is really fun. They're all fun films. They're all very entertaining, his films. They are. in a cartoonish way. A lot of people, including myself, would like to see him kind of grow up and do something more meaningful uh, and truthful. He avoids the truth in Django Unchained. Jamie Foxx looks like he solves all of slavery with a six gun. Didn't happen, folks. In Incredulous Bastards, it looks like Hitler is assassinated in a movie theater and the war is suddenly over. Didn't happen, folks. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it looks like Brad Pitt's Pitbull uh, kills all the Charles Manson family before they kill Sharon Tate. Didn't happen, folks. And so he has a way of trying to reinvent reality, the real history of things out there. So can he be trusted? That's up to you to figure that one out. Um, is he reliable, or is it just purely him having fun and being entertaining? It's all of that. But I wouldn't rely on Tarantino for historical truth. I would not do it. But be that in may, as he worked his way through the 90s after Reservoir Dogs, he wrote and directed perhaps his most successful film, Pulp Fiction. Um, what He resurrected the career of John Travolta, who had been a big star in the 70s with a TV series called Welcome Back, Carter. Then he did the disco film Saturday Night Live Fever, and then he did Grease, and then later on his career fell off. Um, and it was kind of in the doldrums when Tarantino came knocking on his door and goes, "I got a script for you, but it's edgy, and you're not going to be cool dancing um, disco fever." Although there's a great dance sequence in it, if you get Travolta to dance, you're going to have a fun sequence anyway. And so he said yes to that, which was smart. Samuel L. Jackson, who's worked with Tarantino on several projects like Jackie Brown, um, came on board. Pulp Fiction is born. It was huge hit artistically, commercially, all produced by um, Harvey Weinstein, who, if you pay attention to the news at all, he's over the last 30 years, he's been accused of rape and convicted of rape. He's doing now 30 years in prison, and he's my age. He's not going to get out, folks. He abused too many women with his power, and he produced just about every one of Tarantino's films. They had a relationship that went back decades. Um, Harvey Weinstein gave him carte blanche to make whatever film he wanted to, and they made a ton of money together. And so when Harvey was on trial 2, 3 years ago, everybody was wondering what Tarantino was thinking about it, but he never came out in the press. He was staying quiet. Well, it's because they made too much money together. And I do believe that this is my personal opinion that Tarantino probably knew Harvey was abusing his power with women, and that's Hollywood. They stay closed mouth if they want to keep their career going. Um, Finally, after he was convicted, he came out and said it was wrong. Yeah, great one, Quentin. That's a real stance. Rape is wrong. Harvey was wrong, although we made a boatload of money together. Um, After Pulp Fiction, he do anything he wanted. He had a hit movie with movie stars. Now, in Reservoir Dogs, people weren't that well known besides Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, maybe. Um, Most of the others weren't that well known. Michael Madsen was great. Um, he's used Michael Madsen several times. Kill Bill 1 and 2, which are really fun, entertaining cartoon type movies. Uma Thurman's like an assassin on a revenge trip to get revenge to David Carradine. And David Carradine was a star in the 70s and 80s and kind of fell off from grace was making films over in Asia because he couldn't get any gigs in Hollywood. Tarantino, which I really admire him for this, he has really good taste in actors, and he resurrects their careers by saying, "Come on, be in my film. It's a Tarantino film. You won't go. You'll get noticed again." A couple years ago, he did a movie with Robert Rodriguez, um, and Kurt Russell. You might know him from, well, he did the Disney movies in the '60s. He worked with John Carpenter in the '70s of the remake of The Thing, Escape from New York, Escape from LA, action star, married or not married, but at least hooked up with Goldie Hawn for the actress for 30, 40 years. Well, Tarantino wanted to have him in this movie. Kurt wasn't know if it was right. It was right for him. And then Goldie said, "Are you kidding? This is Tarantino. You need to be in one of his movies." And it sort of resurrected his career. So he has this way. Robert Forster is another actor who, wonderful actor. His career had fallen down into nothing, and Tarantino said, "Come do Jackie Brown with me," and it resurrected his career. He's passed away since, but for the next 10 years, he had some great roles. Tarantino rescued him. He's wanted to do that. He has gone after older actors who their at their careers in the dumpster. Michael Parks is another one who's in the Kill Bill movies. Um, these are guys that I grew up with that I would love to resurrect their careers if I could. But to prove that they still have worth, he resurrected Pam Crew's film career with Jackie Brown. So in that way, he's much admired by people like me who believe in these actors from these other movies, from this other era, and their career is no longer viable. He gives them another shot and a quality production produced by Harvey Weinstein, the rapist, and the rest is history. Tarantino is also an actor. He acts in some of his films. Dust Till Dawn, he's one of the actors in that. They fight. He's a robber and a serial killer, essentially, uh, with George Clooney. It's one of his first movies outside his TV show. He was in a show called ER, and he put George Clooney in this movie, and Tarantino plays his psychotic brother. But he was also had a small part in Reservoir Dogs. He puts himself. He was in Pulp Fiction. He puts himself in these roles. He writes his own parts. It's okay. He's adequate, and so he loves actors, and he'll take scenes with DiCaprio and let them run the dialogue and really get into their characters because he likes to dig down deep on their characters because he likes hearing his words back also. Um, but also he likes seeing the actor dig down deep into something more meaningful than just lightweight dialogue from the Marvel comics, that sort of thing. Now, are people waiting with bated breath about his next film? I don't know. What does the next generation feel about him? They might be indifferent, especially the world we're living in now with Wonder Woman and Iron Man and X Men, whatever, being the flavor of the day. Maybe he'll do a superhero movie. You never know. It would be interesting if he did. It'd be special. It really will. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino was the darling of the '90s cinema. Has he wore out his welcome? Perhaps, but he's had a nice long career and he's very well highly thought of. And like I said, his movies influenced an entire generation of filmmakers and people who thought I can make this kind of movie, artistic movie, um, and have a career. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino, I think he's in his late 50s now, and he seems to be more settled down. But hopefully the fire remains, and we'll see what his next movie's up to. And I'll be there because there's always hope springs eternal. Anyway, I hope you guys show up there, and we got one more week of school. I think it gets over next week this time. Get your papers in, get your journals in. I'll see you next week when the story film continues.